Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of the Monsters Den. In the co-captain's chair today, we got Mr. Jamie Laszlo. What's happening, man?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Just you and me tonight.
It's just
The house seems empty. Something doesn't feel right.
Well, it's all right. We'll make do, right? We'll make do.
All right.
Especially since we're talking about a cool topic here. And now, since it's just the two of us, we went from picking 5 of our favorite endings of all time to talking about 10, because we'll have a little bit extra time because we've got no Chris Allo or Rich Catino tonight. So we will make it happen. We will make it happen. So so these are basically our favorite killer endings to a horror or sci-fi movie or what have you. The ending that just is mind-blowing, or maybe it totally does a reversal of what you think was going to happen, or maybe something out of left field, or maybe it's just the ending was just so cool, it ranks pretty high up there for you. So with all that being said, I don't necessarily have mine in any order, but because they're all pretty cool, but I'll have Jamie kick us off with his first selection of the day.
I put mine in order.
You did?
As best as I can. Yeah, I'm looking at it now and I want to make a change, but I won't. And believe it or not, I got 10 here, and 7 of the 10 is 2001 and later. So a lot of stuff from 2001 and the 2010s.
I got a good mix, I think. You know what it is? I think a lot of the modern horror filmmakers are purposefully trying to come up with these catch it, zinger endings, where back in the day it was a little more organic how it happened, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Monsters Den, literally. Monsters dead, the end. Literally.
Yes. That's it. Everybody goes home happy, right? Nowadays it's like, oh my God, that ending. Oh, just tear the heart right out from me, right? Yep.
Right. Well, my number 10, I'm going to go with one that I think a lot of people have seen, maybe everyone. I'm going to go with Saw. And I got this on Amazon. It has how many are there? 7 movies?
Yeah,
it was
that. Yeah.
$13 for all of them. Doesn't have the Chris Rock one.
That's better than this, because I bought this years ago and it's got the first 3.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even think I've seen the last one on here.
I don't think I've seen anything past 4 or 5.
Yeah. Now look, I want everyone to know, if we're going to talk about these endings, spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, I should have said that right off the bat. Yeah, I should have said that.
Big time.
Yes. If everybody's watching this show right now, we're giving you full on spoilers. So if there's any of these films that you haven't seen, or you think there's going to be films that you haven't seen, you may not want to watch this during the live premiere, and you may want to, if you watch it during the anytime afterwards on demand, get ready with that fast forward button, right?
Yes.
We're giving full spoilers here. That's the point of this whole show. So spoiler alert, big time. Thank you, Jamie. I completely forgot all about that. I will put that in the title of the video, so we have that down.
Yes, because I don't feel right doing this. It just feels weird giving these spoilers. It's like going into the church and yelling out an F-bomb. It just doesn't feel right.
Right, but we're warning everybody, right? So if afterwards you guys are like, I'm not going to watch that movie now, well, we warned you. So
all right. So Saw. I think a lot of you guys out there have seen this, and you know how it ends. I mean, you've got 2 guys in a room, and they're chained up to a pipe or something. It's a very dingy, cold room. It's in the middle of some big building, and there's a dead corpse in the middle of them, all bloodied up, and looks like he shot himself. And so the mystery begins with these 2. And you got, what's his name? Ben Linus from Lost. Have you ever watched Lost? Yeah, I was very addicted to Lost. Yeah, so you got Ben Linus. I rewatched this. I haven't seen him in so long, I forgot he was in it. So you got Ben Linus in it, and he has one of the dudes' daughter and wife as hostage in their home. And you put all your money on Ben Linus as the bad guy, especially since he was a bad guy in Lost. I think this came out before Lost, though. So you're going through the movie, you're like, this guy, but there is one scene towards the end where something happens, where Jigsaw does something, shocks him, and Ben Linus is driving. You're like, how is he shocking him while he's driving? So something's amiss. Something's going on here. So in the cold room, Ben Linus does show up. He gets his head beat in with the back of a toilet. And you think the bad guy is dead. But all of a sudden, jing, the big ending, the corpse in the middle of the floor starts standing up, and he is Jigsaw, and he's the one who was behind it all, and he just laid still the whole time. Big ending. Everyone got a big, as grimy as this movie is and violent, this whole series, it's amazing the moneymaker that it was. It kind of started a whole thing, and then you got Hostel after that. Everyone wanted to be the next grimy, gross horror movie. So yeah, Saw's coming in at number 10. Why 10? I don't know, but I'm putting it at 10. Maybe because everybody knows it and everybody sees it, but it's a 10.
Cool. Yeah, it was on my list as well, so that's a good choice. Yeah, it's I remember like seeing that in the theaters, and that ending was just kind of like, what? So this dead guy lying in the middle of the bathroom floor, right in the middle of these two dudes who are chained up, and all of a sudden at the end of the movie, he just kind of gets up and, hi, I'm Saw. I've been sitting here.
Yeah, and you know what? The big wow moment is when Ben Linus is dead, and the dude goes into his pockets looking for the keys, and what he comes out with is a tape recorder, the same type of tape recorder the two guys originally had, and he starts playing, and it's Jigsaw's voice on it. And he just used Ben Linus as a pawn. He put a slow poison into his body, and he had to kill the mom and the daughter, or he was going to die. He wasn't going to get the antidote. We've all seen it.
Yeah. The one guy starts sawing his leg.
Oh, that's still hard to watch. Yes.
Yeah. The second film is like, has some really like nasty scenes in it. But
is that the one with all the needles that she jumps into?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was also the film with the hogs, right? With the pigs.
Oh, I got to watch them again. I can't remember.
It's been a while. While. All right. So my first choice, going back a ways from the 70s, is The Wicker Man. So again, another one of those kind of like films that kind of steers you in one direction at the end. Kind of a little different than what you thought, perhaps. So basically, the gist of this story is this police chief gets called to this little island off of the shores of Scotland, that there's this girl has disappeared, right? So he comes to the island to investigate the disappearance of this young girl. And, he's kind of run into all sorts of difficulties because no one seems to know anything about this girl. And the cop, the guy the actor plays the cop, is awesome. And that's Edward Woodward. And he's, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And he's interviewing all these people and checking out all this stuff. And he knows that people are lying and not telling the truth and hiding things. And the whole time he's thinking that, these are pretty weird people. And as it turns out, they're pagans, right? They have all these different rituals and things and beliefs of stuff. So when he finally starts to get to the point where he believes that he is getting to the crux of the issue, and, he thinks the girl is still there, the end result of the movie is that this girl was never missing. And whoever reported her as missing from this, village of people, what have you, it was all a setup, because basically their beliefs are that before every like growing season, as far as like the crops and everything like that, they have to give up a sacrifice to their god, and the sacrifice has to be someone that is not from their village. So basically, I guess, and they've probably done it before many years, so they lured this cop to their island to investigate a young girl who is still, of course, very much alive, and they wind up actually abducting him, and they have this whole ceremony and everything, and they actually put him in the giant Wicker Man, and he's trapped up in there. They light him on fire, and that is the sacrifice to the gods, so they will get the great crop coming over to the next season. Really, really great film. Christopher Lee, of course, very famously in this. You got Ingrid Pitt and Britt Eklund, and like I said, Edward Woodward. Great cast. really cool movie, more of like kind of like that pagan folk
Folklore.
horror type of thing, which became very popular in the 70s. So but yeah, just a total, and the whole ending scene of him in this gigantic Wicker Man contraption that's all going up in flames, just really, really cool. And yeah, just a one big the whole thing was a farce and he fell for it, and now he's paying the price, I guess. So the Wicker Man.
Was he a virgin too?
Yes, because he was, I think back home he was engaged to be married. Yes, he was.
Yes.
He was a very strict Catholic.
Yes.
And so throughout the movie, they tried to tempt. They had, I think it was Britt Eklund's character tried to tempt
on the other side of the wall.
On the other side of the wall, but he was like, no, I'm gonna be okay. So yeah, so usually in stories like this, they would pick like a virgin, a young girl, a young lady, but here they actually picked an adult male, right, who was a police officer. And yeah, so very, very, very cool film, really great ending, awesome ending. So
two things. One, I didn't pick it because I knew you would.
no.
And two, I saw that as a teenager. I don't know, 16. And when I was that age, I was at the mind frame, naive. The good guy always wins. So
Yeah.
when I saw the ending, I didn't know how to feel about that. That's not how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
I hate this. I hated it. And then, you grow up.
Well, it kind of went against the grain, right, of this time period, because again, in the 60s and 70s, or even the 50s, most of these type of films, you had to have a happy ending. And this is like a complete downer of an ending, right? So yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Number 9. These were going to be honorable mentions when we were going to do 5. But this is my number 9, Diabolique.
Oh.
Talked about this before on this channel.
Yeah.
1955 French movie, black and white, subtitled. I don't like giving away this ending, so please, I'm going to hold this up. When I put this down, it's, if you want to watch it, when I put this down, you can start play again. So this girl, she doesn't have a great heart. I mean, she's a nice person. Literally, she has a weak heart. And she's married to a real asshole. And he's banging her friend on the side. And believe it or not, the mistress and the wife are kind of good friends. So they get together and say, let's kill this son of a bitch. So they can get the whole plan of drowning him. And they put him in a suitcase. They put him in, then they all work at a school.
Yep.
And they put him at the bottom of the pool at the school. And was that their whole plan, to keep him at the bottom of the pool, or were they going to move him later? Maybe I should have rewatched this one.
No, they were going to move him later. Yeah.
They're going to move him later. Okay. So I'm going off of memory here. It wasn't too long ago I watched this. So all of a sudden, like the body disappeared. They drained the pool and there's nothing down there. There's no case. And they're like, what the hell? And then there's little inklings of, is he a ghost? Is he a ghost? No, can't be. And they take this student picture in front of the windows, and there's like this little blurry thing behind them in the window. Is that him? Is that him? What's going on? So this whole movie, you're wondering what's going on. And then at the end, I'm holding this up high. Don't listen to me. Mute me. So the woman with the bad heart walks down this hallway because she's hearing noises, and she goes into the bathroom and she looks in the bathtub, and there he is, the husband, and he's under the water, lying still under the water. His eyes are pure white. I think I talked about this on the scariest moments in a movie. And he starts to stand up and he's dripping and his eyes are wet and he's got this goofy look on his face. And of course, her with her bad ticker, she goes against the wall and has a heart attack. And then he takes the things out of his eyes and he's perfectly fine. And here comes the mistress. We killed her. Now we can run together. But then comes in the police officer, whatever you want to call him. And he's like, you guys are busted. And that police officer, when I watched this last time, I was watching that police officer. I said, there is no way in hell that Columbo was not influenced by this guy. The show, the character, Peter Falk, all of it. So I Googled it, and it sure was. They are the same character just about. So yeah, you get French Columbo, you get a big twisted ending. The whole movie is kind of like eerie when you watch it. It's not a horror movie per se, but when you're watching it, you're kind of thinking this is kind of like a horror movie.
It is. It's like a horror movie / psychological thriller, I think. And and what's great about that film is that the wife, she's just, this whole experience is just completely making her go batty. And it's just like her descent into almost like complete paranoia leading up to that final scene, which is just really, really great. Yeah, I had never seen that movie before, but I've heard about it like all my life until you watched it and raved about it. And I went and got it immediately because, of course, Criterion Collection stuff, got to have them, right? And that's a good one, really good one.
But stay away from that 1996-ish version with Sharon Stone. Do not watch that one. I don't want to read subtitles. I'll just watch this one. No, do not do that.
Not the same. Yeah, great film. That's a great choice. All right, my next one, another kind of older classic, this one from the 60s, 1968, I believe, the original Planet of the Apes. This is the Blu-ray set that's got all of those in it. So the original film, again, I'm sure if there's anybody out there who has not seen this yet, I'm quite surprised.
But
meanwhile,
parodies of it, for crying out loud.
Oh yeah. So basically, through this whole film, they lead you to believe that this is some new planet that Charlton Heston and his group of astronauts, their spaceship lands on, right? And the planet is inhabited by talking apes, and the few humans that are on this planet are like, don't talk. They're like the animals, right? They're imprisoned and all that kind of stuff. So the whole movie is, and Charlton Heston winds up being the only survivor from the ship, and he gets imprisoned by them. They eventually find out that he is a talking, intelligent human being. They're shocked, of course, because it's like if we all of a sudden we found a rabbit that talked, right, or a chimpanzee or whatever, we'd be like, oh my God, that's not supposed to happen because this is a world of apes, right? So then eventually, the whole movie goes by, and eventually there is this place on this planet called the Forbidden Zone that the apes are like, you don't go there, right? Because there's lots of things there that we don't quite understand, or don't want to understand, or don't want to realize and admit are there. So when Charlton Heston's character and one of the female humans who doesn't speak, Nova, her name is, they wind up escaping. They go to the Forbidden Zone. And after all the events that happen in the Forbidden Zone, some of the apes come and follow them there, what have you. The final scene, which I remember like even seeing this as a kid, I was like, what? The two of them are on a horse, and they're kind of going off on the beach, right? And there's an ocean there. And then they go around like this corner of like a mountain or whatever. And there around the corner, halfway jutting out of the ocean, is the Statue of Liberty. And Charlton Heston looks at it and he's just like, why? And he finally realizes they're not on a different planet. They're on Earth many years in the future, and probably after like a complete nuclear holocaust. So that is Earth, but Earth now has somehow, all those years later, has changed. Most of the humans are extinct, and the apes now rule and think and talk and act just like humans did. And there's your proof, because where he was New York City, now completely changed forever. So, and then the subsequent sequels then kind of put the whole story together and show you how all that happened and whatnot. So really, for late 60s film, really, really cool. One of the great, I think, sci-fi films of all time, and just a great total mindfuck of an ending.
Yep. I also didn't choose that one because if Laszlo was here, I figured that'd be his number one.
Right. Well, he asked me a couple of days ago, he goes, can we choose sci-fi films for this? I'm like, of course. And I figured that's where he was going to go. So
and I figured that's what happened when you text me a few days later going, we can include sci-fi. Someone wanted to do Planet of the Apes and asked, and I knew what happened before that text. I could tell. All right. Speaking of sci-fi, I think we're going to spoil some things for each other. I think that's just going to have to take our medicine on this, you know.
Yeah, that's all right.
Unless you want to go let the dogs out.
No, that's fine. I'm good with this. That's no big deal.
All right. I talked about this one before as one of my favorite knockoffs of Alien, and I don't think you've seen it. I'm going to talk about Life from 2017, so not that long ago. Now, here's the thing about this movie. A lot of people haven't seen it, and a lot of people who've seen it don't like it. I love it. So it kind of feels like one of those movies that's my movie, you know? So that's cool. I'll take it. So Life, it's a big alien knockoff. They're up in space. They discovered a new life form called Calvin. I think they had a contest on Earth and a kid named it Calvin, something like that. And one by one, they get killed by the alien. It's a smaller version of the alien, and it kind of, probably because there's no gravity, it kind of flies around like a bird type thing, almost like a fish and a bird combined, maybe. So it's not huge, but it's big enough. So at the end, you got Rebecca Ferguson and Jake Gyllenhaal as the last two survivors. There's no heat. They're freezing to death. So they're running out of oxygen. So their plan is, Jake Gyllenhaal is saying, you know what? He hates people and he loves space. He's the guy who spends all the time in space. Hey, your shift is over. No, I'll stay here. So he tells Rebecca Ferguson, I'm going to lure it. He's going to follow the oxygen because he needs oxygen too, Calvin. So I'm going to take him into pod A. And these pods are meant to go straight to Earth. But I'm going to run over the system by holding this handle. And I'm going to take them in the outer space. You take the other pod, it'll take you to Earth. So that's the plan. And again, their pods, Calvin goes into the pod with Jake Gyllenhaal and it's wrapping around him. I tell you what, this movie is pretty gross. And Calvin does some gross things, like puts his tentacles down people's throats and things like that. Things that bother me. You know, I can watch a head get chopped off. Certain other things bother me. Someone drowns in their own helmet from fluid. That kind of bothers me. So maybe that's why I like it. It plays on my personal fears. Plus, I like these good ripoffs. You know, the cheesy ones are fine, but I like the good ones, quote unquote good. So the two pods take off. And as a viewer, you're kind of just assuming the pods are the right pods. It's hard to tell from the outer space shots who's in the pod. You can't see them through the window. So there's debris around their station, and the debris hits both pods. So you see one pod kind of go that way. And then you look in the other pod, and Jake Gyllenhaal, Calvin's got his hand wrapped around and he's pulling him back. So as it goes on, a pod lands on Earth in the water, and some fishermen come up and look through the window. Wrong pod. It's Jake Gyllenhaal with Calvin around him, and the poor girl went out into outer space to die for no reason whatsoever. And Jake Gyllenhaal is yelling, "Don't open the pod! Don't open the pod!" They're like, oh. And then you see a bird's eye view, and you see all kinds of other fishermen coming in. So Calvin's going to take over the Earth. Life. It's still good. Even if I spoiled that for you, Pete, it's still a good watch from the beginning.
You know what? I think I actually watched it.
And you don't remember it because you didn't like it.
No, because everything you just described, I'm like, yeah, I think I've seen that.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
Me and about 3 other people.
I think we rented it on demand or something like that, like, I don't know, like a year or so ago.
Okay.
Because that whole ending sounds very, very familiar.
And Ryan Reynolds is in it too.
Yeah.
He's being Ryan Reynolds himself pretty much in it.
Yeah. All right, where am I going to go next? All right, so yeah, I had to include this one. It probably could even rank higher, or like I said, I didn't really put this in any real order, but one of my favorite kind of serial killer films of all time, Seven.
What's in the box?
Yeah. So again, another one of these films that has been out for a while. I'm sure most people have seen it, but the film is a really gritty, dark, rainy, serial killer film about this guy who's killing people, and each killing has to do with like the 7 deadly sins, and those are all the clues that are left in the way the victims are killed. And on the case is Morgan Freeman and his new young partner Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's wife, of course, is
I forget.
blonde. What is her name? God, I'm drawing a blank on her name.
It's from the chick from Iron Man, right?
Yes. What is her name?
Bungle.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes.
Gwyneth Paltrow. That's it. So they're like newlyweds, right? So anyway, so they are trying to track down the serial killer, and he's evading them in every way. They wind up finding out where he lives, and so they're getting closer and closer and closer. And all of the killings, all of the victims, I mean, it's pretty gruesome, right? Plus the movie is so dark, and it's always raining, and so it's a very, very like, I don't know, unnerving film. And then, about 3/4 of the way through the film, we see that the killer walks into the police station and says, "I'm the man you're looking for. I'm the killer." And of course, the actor is Kevin Spacey. He's great in this role. And so they take him captive, and they start questioning him. And he basically lets them know that there's one more victim that they haven't found yet. So they're like, "Well, where is it? Where is it?" Well, I want to show you, but I can only show those 2 guys. So the two cops, Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, and it can only be them 2, nobody else. And I need to go with them. I will take them directly to the spot. So they're like, okay, and it's got to be at this date, and which I think is the next day, and it's got to be at this time. We have to be there. So they go and they drive out. They're driving out in the middle of nowhere. They're on this tiny little road out in this place. There's windmills all over the place, and electrical lines, and there's not much else, right? So they go there, and they got him all chained up and everything like that. And they're waiting. They're out in the middle of nowhere. It's like, well, where what's going on? What's going on? And he just goes, "What time is it?" And they're like, "It's 2 minutes to 10 or whatever." He's like, "Oh, any minute now." And then all of a sudden, in the distance, you see like a taxi cab driving towards them, right? And they're like, "Who's this? Who's this?" So they get their guns out, right? Or not a taxi cab, it's a delivery van. And so they get them. One of them gets in the middle of the road. The other one's watching Kevin Spacey, and then gunpoint. They're like, "Stop the car! Get out of the car! What are you doing here?" It's like, "Oh, I was told to deliver this package here. I don't know. Someone paid me money to deliver here at such and such a time." It's like, "Oh, okay, no problem." So it's a small little box, and of course, Brad Pitt is the one who is getting the box. And so back where Morgan Freeman is, guarding over Kevin Spacey's like, "This is going to be beautiful. And after today, everybody will always remember me." And, he talks about what the next deadly sin is that hasn't been covered yet. And he's like, "What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?" Right. And, actually, no, it's the other way around. Morgan Freeman is the one who goes to the van. Brad Pitt is the one. And so Kevin Spacey keeps talking, and Morgan Freeman goes and opens up the box, and he's like, "Oh my God," he's horrified. And so Brad Pitt is listening to Kevin Spacey, goes, "What's the matter?" Okay, can't hear him because he's kind of far off. And Brad Pitt's like, "What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?" And in the box is Brad Pitt's wife's head. And then, so of course, he is so distraught and revolted and horrified and angry. And Morgan Freeman is like, "I know this is awful, but you can't do anything to him, right? You can't do anything to him." So, and Kevin Spacey just continues to goad him. It's like, "This is what I wanted. This is the whole plan. The end plan is that I'm going to kill your wife. Here's her head. And then you in turn need to kill me." And Brad Pitt's fighting. He's fighting and fighting. His partner's trying to tell him, no, you can't do that. It's not what we do. And then, of course, the movie ends with him blowing Kevin Spacey's head off. And that's the end of the movie. And then they take him away. And so basically, Kevin Spacey's entire plan played out to absolute perfection. And again, the entire plan was to show the weakness of the human being, right? So pretty cool. 7 Deadly Sins. Really, really great film. This came out a few years after Silence of the Lambs, and there are times where I think I enjoy 7 even more than Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, I'm due to watch that again. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it's one of those films where I mean, I've seen it so many times, and again, you know what the ending is going to be, and every time it's just as cool. It's like
Yeah.
never gets old.
And Kevin what's his name? Spacey.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey plays a good creep. Who would have known? Always played the good creep.
Yeah, yeah, that he did. That he did. Yeah.
My number 7 is going to be kind of a quick one. It's the first weird kind of quirky surprise ending I ever saw. And that's why I'm putting it in here for personal reasons. I don't know if it would make someone's normal list, but it's making mine because of that. That, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm going to go with the very end of The Shining. So he's in the maze and Danny, and he's frozen. But then we go down the hallway. And I remember being a kid watching this. And another thing is weird about it is I don't get it. A lot of people don't understand it. Now, Grady, is that his name, Grady? The the guy when they're in the Target bathroom, all red and white, and he's getting out a little water, sir. That's Grady or Gravy. Is it Grady?
I think so. It's been a while since.
Anyways, he tells him in that Target bathroom, you've always been the caretaker, sir. What does that mean? And then at the end, you see, there he is in like 19, whatever the hell year it is, something way back, 1929.
Yeah, it was in the 20s. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he's right in the front. And so he's always been the caretaker. But wait a minute, I'm so confused, but it's cool, but I'm confused. And I've been trying to figure it out for 40 years, maybe longer. And it's just, I like the mystery of it. The mystery of it is kind of the cool part. And I will say a band I like, Murder by Death. They do a concert every year at the hotel where they filmed The Shining. And it's like a big annual thing. People love it. And they always take a picture like The Shining with the band in front with the lead singer and then the whole crowd that was there to see the whole concert behind them. And they do it in black and white from the same angle. And that's a really cool idea. So there you go, Shining.
Yeah, it's such a great film. Such a great film. All right. Let's see. All right. So speaking of grimy, we're talking about grimy before. Well, it doesn't get much more grimy than Last House on the Left, which, you know, for me, one of the great revenge flicks of all time. This, of course, is a very, very early film from Mr. Wes Craven. This is the cool Arrow box, which has, you know, the Blu-ray and a booklet and poster and all sorts of other stuff. Look at this. To avoid fainting, keep repeating, it's only a movie. It's only a movie. It's only a movie.
I remember that.
Yeah, right. So, you know, the basis of the story is these two, you know, teenage girls. They get ready to go out on a night out. And I believe this was New York. Night of they live in, this film took place, I believe, in Westchester County, New York, and they went out, or Connecticut, and they, you know, went to go out in New York City for a little night of fun. And in the beginning of the film, you get to meet one of the girls' parents, right? And so the two girls go out. They wind up looking to smoke some pot and score some pot, and they wind up coming across this little gang of friends, right, who are a little bit older. Well, the one kid is about their age, and then the couple, the woman and the other two guys are a bit older, and so they wind up going. They're like, yeah, we can sell you some pot, whatever. But you got to come back to our place. So they go back to this place and whatnot, and they wind up hanging out with these guys. And long story short, this transpires into this whole kind of crazy day or evening of depravity, because these guys that they and then woman who they came across are basically criminals. They're pretty much scum. So they wind up kind of kidnapping the two girls, and they wind up like raping them and torturing them and eventually killing them. And they wind up going out to the country to do this near like this little lake. So shortly thereafter, so they are far away from the city at this point, and so they get back and they leave the two dead girls out by the little pond or whatever in the woods, and they get in their car and they go drive a little ways, and they stumble across a house, the last house on the left, and they notice the lights are on, and the weather's kind of crappy out. So they go up to the door, and they're like, "Oh, we're some traveling salespeople, and we're kind of could we like use your phone?" I mean, we heard this story before, right? Someone shows up in the middle of the night, right? Usually, you don't know who they are, and when they say, "Oh, I just need to use your phone," usually you just say no, right? So they let them in, and they sit down to eat, and then eventually the couple agree. Of course, us watching the film, we know that the couple is the parents of one of the girls. And so they eventually invite them to stay over, right? Because they don't want them going back out on this evening, whatever. And so they stay over, and all of a sudden, one of the guys notices a kind of picture frame on one of the dressers and notices it's one of the girls that they killed. So it's like, holy shit, I think we stumbled upon their house, right? That's like, of course. Shortly thereafter, another thing that happens is that the mother notices that one of the guys is wearing like this kind of like necklace that was her daughter's. So they're like, something's going on. Of course, they don't know where the kids are either. So long story short, they wind up discovering the body of the daughter out in the woods. They're distraught. They put two and two together that they know that obviously this crew of degenerates was probably responsible for the death of their daughter and friend. So they plot this whole plan of revenge rather than calling the cops. They're like, we're going to take this, we're going to do it in house, right? And the whole ending, last like 30 minutes is just great. You've got, the mother tries to seduce one of the dudes and then bites his penis off. The father gets a chainsaw out. The mother slashes the woman in the throat. She drowns in the pool, and they get the shotgun. So the whole last like half hour is just total violence and chaos. But and then the movie just kind of like ends, right? The parents alive, all this bloodshed everywhere. The house is ruined, but they get their revenge. And so I guess to them, revenge was sweet, but man, crazy, grimy. This is one of those films you get done watching, you're like, you just want to go take a shower. But it's a really intense ending, and one of the most really shocking endings of a film during that time period, during the early mid 70s. So it's kind of infamous for a reason. So Last House on the Left.
Cool. All right. Been a while since I've seen that one. Did they remake that? I think they remade that.
Yes, they did. Yeah, the remake is not bad, but it's so similar. For me, I watched it just to watch it. But if I want to watch Last House on the Left, which is not a film you watch all the time anyway, the original is the way to go for me.
All right. Well, this one might surprise people, especially if I'm going with the UK original ending on this. So if you never saw that one and just the original US ending, you might be going, what? But the first time I ever watched it was with the UK ending. I'm going with The Descent. Now, this is a great modern horror movie. Modern, but it's already, 15, 16 years old. Was it on your list?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Because I thought maybe I was squeezing it in this list when it shouldn't belong there, because the reason I have it on my list is because, look, I don't always feel like I'm well educated, but this ending makes me feel like I'm well educated just for a moment, and I'll explain why. Because if you've never seen this movie, all these chicks, they go down into the caves, and what do you call it? Cave climbing, discovering.
I think it's called like something like spelunking or something like that.
Being stupid. I call it being really fucking stupid. So they're being really fucking stupid, and they're down there in the dark. And if you have problems being with claustrophobia, you're gonna have problems with this movie, but maybe in a good, fun way. So they're down there, and you think, oh, this movie is all about that. No, about halfway through, there's all these cave-dwelling monsters down there. Who are they? I'm not sure if they ever explain it, who they are. I don't think they did. They're just monsters down there. And one by one, these chicks die off. Until the end, when you got Sarah and Juno left. And I think Juno is not a great person. Right. She already abandoned one of their friends, and she didn't tell Sarah. And I think she was banging Sarah's husband. And Sarah's husband and daughter died a year prior to this in a car accident. So Sarah at the end kind of sticks an axe in the Juno's leg and leaves her for the cave dwelling monsters. Sarah moves on and she falls down this hole and she gets knocked unconscious. She comes to and she sees a light. Ah, the light. So she starts climbing through these bones and she goes through the hole, and then we're back outside. You see her hand come out. Oh my God, one made it out of there. I can't believe it. So she comes out, she's all bloody. She doesn't look very good. And she goes on a long walk through the woods. She comes across her truck. In the truck, driving off. Wait a minute, I got to stop and puke. Blah! And then she looks at the passenger side and she has this hallucination that Juno's there. Oh no. And if you're in the US, they think that's all you can handle. Bip, movie's over. You don't get the real ending because we can't handle that. What the hell is that all about? All the depression, we get 7. We get a chick's head in a box, but we can't handle this ending because it's too depressing, they think.
Yeah.
What the hell ever. So the real ending, she screams and the scream goes boom. She's actually back in the cave. She never got out. And she pictures her daughter's birthday and the birthday candle coming towards her with her daughter holding the cake. But what it really is just her torch there. And you start hearing the monsters come and boom. Now, why does this make me feel a little educated, like I know something? Because in college, in my film class, we had to watch a little 30-minute film called An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. Have you ever seen it, Pete?
No.
So this was a short film based on a short story. And what it is and actually Twilight Zone adopted it, shortened it, and made it one of their episodes. A guy's getting hung by a bunch of soldiers. There's hardly any talking in this 30 minutes. And actually the one I saw was 20 minutes long, and they cut out some really cool scenes. And I think that's the one they used for TV. But you get the gist. It's out there on Tubi if you want to see it. An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. So they're hanging the guy. He off a bridge. He goes down into the water. And while he's underwater, you think he's going to hang, but the rope is so long, he goes into the water. Oh, they're going to drown the guy. He's all tied up. Well, he gets out of the tie. And he starts swimming and they're shooting him. And then he doesn't get shot. And then he's running and they're chasing him. And then he finally gets home to his sweetheart. And she's coming out of the house. Oh, and they're running towards one another. And it's going to be a happy ending. And they love one another. And right when he touches her, boom, bang. He actually just hang, and he was imagining the whole thing. So that, I think they borrowed from that big time. So there you go.
Yeah, The Descent is an amazing film. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And yeah, if you are at all claustrophobic, do not watch that movie at all. Oh my God. Even thinking about it, I'm just kind of like, oof, man. All right. Got to pick at least one giallo film in my list, right? Got to have one. And for me, one of the granddaddies of it all is Dario Argento's Deep Red, or Profondo Rosso, which is the Italian saying of deep red. Great, absolute great twist at the end. You know, most of these, you can basically any giallo film, that's kind of what they're all about, right? They're all about the twist at the end. These films are just basically like kind of like mini slasher whodunit mystery thrillers type of thing. Some are gorier and bloodier than others. Some have more sex than others, but that's the gist of an Italian giallo film. And Argento is just a master at doing these in the 70s and the early 80s. So this, I mean, most of the plots are very similar. You've got some kind of masked, gloved killer who's out slashing people, killing people. This is no different. You've got again, various people throughout the course of this film. You got this one main character who's in every one of these films, there's like one guy or one woman who's like trying to figure out and solve what's going on. In some cases, it's a policeman. In other cases, it's not. In this particular one, it's not. And he is kind of linked to all of the victims and all the other stars in this particular film. So long story short, the main character thinks he has figured out who the killer is. It's this one kind of really weird dude named Carlo. So the big climax of the film, he's kind of tracked him down. There's this big kind of fight that happens, whatever. But in actuality, it's not Carlo at all. It's his deranged mother who is actually the killer. And there's a great scene in here where Carlo actually runs out to the street. He's got some kind of, I forget if it's a rope or something, or a chain, gets kind of attached to a vehicle, gets wrapped around his car, and he gets dragged through the streets, and that's how he dies, which is amazing. But then the guy Marcus, the lead character, actually winds up, he thinks that, okay, the mystery is solved. Actually turns out it's the mother, so the mother attacks him, and she comes after him with a cleaver. She's actually the one who is behind all of this. And they're kind of scrabbling around in this like apartment complex, and which has those old like lift elevators with the gates that you can actually see through. And the kind of final scene, she's running after him with the cleaver. He backs her up close to the elevator and kind of knocks her down and manages to get her stuck in that position, then hits the elevator button, and the elevator comes crashing down and decapitates her. It's just such a great violent ending to this film, where both the two scum characters both get their just rewards at the end. But yeah, great kills in this film all throughout the filming. There's a killer scene which is so creepy with this like kind of like evil looking doll that like comes walking towards you. It's just Deep Red is probably my favorite giallo film of all time. It's just a great 70s Italian slasher movie. So Deep Red, Profondo Rosso is my next choice.
You know what's great? I've seen all your movies so far, so nothing's been spoiled.
There you go. See that?
All right, this one was going to be a lot lower, but I rewatched it Tuesday, and I said, no way. It doesn't have a twist ending. That's why I was going to have it way lower. But it does things to me that no horror movie should ever do, and that's it makes me cry. I cry at the end of Rocky. I cry at the end of E.T., and I cry at the end of Train to Busan. I mean, now I know you liked it, but you said it was a little long. And I was looking through that point of view when I watched it again. I was like, yeah, a couple phone calls the guy makes could have been trimmed, maybe. But other than that, I think it's damn near perfect. And the thing is, the main guy kind of has a story arc, a character arc about him. He starts off as a selfish kind of prick. And during this whole awfulness, and this is so much awfulness, this movie wears me out when I watch it. It really does. Emotionally, suspensefully, is that a word? It just wears me out. And he kind of becomes a better person at the end. So you're rooting for the dude, and he's got a little daughter who's a great little actress in this movie. She does a bang up job.
Yeah, she does.
And she's been practicing this song to sing for him, and she can't sing it unless she sings it just for him because she always screws up. And there's all these people on a train, and I should say it's a zombie movie if you haven't seen it. What is it? South Korean?
Yes. Yep.
Zombie movie. And yes, it's subtitled, but it's totally worth it. It's about 2 hours and 3 minutes long. So when I say long, it's not like 2.5 hours or something. It's a lot of people on this train, and zombies are killing them all. But the zombies it's going on all over the country. They can't make a stop here and there because there's too many zombies everywhere. And one by one, the characters start to die. And you're left with a pregnant girl, a little girl who's about 6 or 7, and her dad. And you really start caring for these people. And the dad gets bit. And your heart kind of breaks when he gets bit. And he knows what he has to do. And they're on the engine of the train, I think. And he puts his daughter inside, and he walks out, and the daughter's screaming, and she's crying, and you feel it. And he knows he just has to kill himself. And what you see is the shadow of him. They don't show him, they show the shadow, which is even kind of worse. And you just feel so bad. And they get to the train finally stops, and the little girl and out of all these people, who's the 2 survivors? A 6-year-old and a pregnant woman. But a lot of people sacrifice themselves for those 2 along the way.
Yeah. Yep.
So they're walking down this tunnel, And on the other side of the tunnel is the military, and they already got their guns out, and they're pointing it towards the tunnel. And any zombie that comes through is going to get it in the head. And they only see the silhouettes of the pregnant woman and the little girl, and they're walking, tired,
Right.
kind of like a zombie. Although the zombies in this movie are a lot faster than that.
Oh yeah,
We got some dumbass military people, and they're going to headquarters. We see two beings. We don't know if they're infected or not. What should we do? And they get the order to shoot them. And all the awfulness that we just went through. And this movie takes no prisoners. You're like, they're going to fucking shoot them. That's how this is going to end. And he puts his finger on the trigger and he starts to squeeze it. And all of a sudden, the little girl starts singing the song that she was going to sing for her dad. And it's echoing through that tunnel. And they hear it. And they go, we got survivors. And they go running. Oh my God, it rips your heart out. It's so sweet. It's bittersweet, but it's very sweet ending. And she sings the song in the very last line. I think she sings is "Until We Meet Again" or something. And yeah, it's making me cry almost right now. And what horror movie has done that to anyone ever? I don't know. So I gotta put it in there. Train to Busan.
I remember when I watched that film, I was like, man, if after all of this that they've been through, they just have the military just haphazardly just gun them down in pure darkness inside the tunnel, that's going to really suck.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they didn't go there, but yeah.
And it might have still made my list.
If that would have happened, that would have been like the ending to another movie we're probably both going to bring up in a little while with the most bleakest ending ever, right? It's like, oh my God. Yeah. All right. So here's another older one, a 1960. God, what year is 1962? Carnival of Souls. This is a really great film that I had never seen before until I actually bought this sometime last year. And I love like kind of classic horror films, and I love like the Criterion Collection Blu-rays. I think they do such a great job, and I've always heard so many great stories of this. And this is like one of those real kind of like, I don't want to call this like basic, but it's a very minimalistic style film. It's not a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot going on, but it's like steeped in atmosphere, great photography, and just really effective acting. And basically you have this, the main character, the girl in this movie, she's just, the whole film is her going through all these weird sequences in her life, right? And you obviously know that she's suffered some kind of trauma and whatnot, but she kind of goes from like town to town, and she's often like seeing and experiencing really, really strange things. And the cinematography is good, and the camera work is so good in this movie because there's this feeling of like isolation and paranoia throughout the whole film. And they make you believe in all these weird sequences that she's gone, especially the one at the carnival that she sees right alongside the water, which to me, it almost feels like Jersey Shore, Atlantic City, or something like that. But of course, back in the 60s, I'm not quite sure if I remember exactly where this was supposed to be taking place, but Salt Lake City. So it's the history of the Solitaire Resort in Salt Lake City. And she keeps seeing these like weird beings and people that you start to think, well, are they ghosts? Is she actually seeing these people, or is she losing her mind? And then as the movie unfolds, it kind of takes you back to the beginning of the film, where they show like she's in actually like an auto accident where they kind of go off the bridge, her and a couple friends. And in the beginning of the film, that happens. And that's the trauma that she kind of went through, and she survives and just walks away from the accident. Everybody else is dead, and she walks away and just starts drifting and going from town to town and place to place. Well, then at the end of the film, you realize that she actually never did escape that accident, and she actually has been dead the whole film. So this everything that's happening is her kind of like spirit, or whatever apparition she is now. It's what she's actually experiencing, and there were no ghosts. She is the ghost, right? And then she's been dead the whole time. So really, really weird, kind of dreamy but fascinating film that if you haven't seen it, now that I just spoiled the ending. Hopefully you hit the old mute button during that little thing, because it's actually a very, very cool film. One of the great unsung horror films of the 60s.
I saw that about 4 years ago, and it's one of those movies that I know I saw and I don't remember anything.
No? Okay, worth watching again.
Yeah.
Quite good.
I just noticed I was trying to find a scary image before we did this on YouTube. You know what that looks like? It looks like an Opeth cover.
It totally does, yeah. Yeah, like My Arms Your Hearse or Morning Rise. Or
Morning
something.
Rise, yeah. What number are we on? 4?
Jesus. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Number 3, I think, right?
No, I just did Train to Busan.
You did? All right.
5.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Number 4. Yep.
4. All right. Now, this is a little ditty from 2003 that I think a lot of people might have forgot about. It's called Identity.
That's a good one, yeah.
So what you got here in the beginning is a killer who's getting a retrial 24 hours before he is put to death. And it's not in a courtroom. They wake everyone up in the middle of the night and it's at a table. And the judge is pissed that he's there. But the killer's not there. His lawyer is. His lawyer's like, let's wait till the killer's here and then we'll start. And the judge is like, fuck that. I'm tired. We're starting now. So you're like, okay, where's the killer? Now we go to a hotel. Well, actually, we get to the hotel. And there's a lot of people at this hotel and they're stranded because there's a lot of rain around the whole hotel and they can't get out. So now the movie becomes 10 Little Indians, where you got literally, I think, 10 people at this hotel. You got Ray Liotta, who's a cop, and he's transporting a killer, a convicted killer. And you're like, oh, he's going to take him to the trial. And then you got John Cusack, who's an ex-cop, who's a better cop than Ray Liotta because he's a dumb cop. He does a lot of dumb things. And you got a bunch of other characters. You got a little boy and you got his dad, and the mom is dying on the bed because she got hit by John Cusack out in the rain. So they start dying one by one. Pretty violent here and there. There's a head in the dryer at one point. So they're trying to figure it out. And they're noticing that every dead body has a key, a room key. And the first one had 10, and the second one had 9, and the next one had 8. And then they notice that they're walking around, and where all the bodies were, they're disappearing. The bodies aren't there anymore. The blood is gone. Everything's gone. So what the hell is going on? The last 10 minutes of this movie has like 3 twists in one. It's like a pretzel. G and G. So the last 10 minutes you learn, we go back to the trial and the killer finally shows up and he gets rolled in, and it ain't the killer that got killed at the hotel. This is a different guy. They showed his picture real quick in the beginning, but if you blink, you miss it. And if you're not looking for things, you're not going to catch it. So he's there and you find out all the people at the hotel, spoiler, are the different personalities in this guy's head. That's all they are. And they are doing some kind of thing with him to where they're telling him to kill off all the personalities. So there's one left. Make sure it's not the killer, because then you'll be the killer. So we go back into his head. And things get weird because we find out Ray Liotta, it wasn't really the cop. There were 2 convicts and he was one of them, and he killed the cop, and he's really one of the convicts. You're like, he's the killer. Don't end up with that guy last. So one thing turns to another, and we're left with the hot chick. What's her name? Amanda Peet.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty hot in this movie. So we're left with her, and that's good. And we go back to the trial. See, he's left with the one personality, and he's good to go. He'll be in my care, says the doctor. So they transport him back to the hospital because he's good to go now. In that 15-minute trial, they figured out, he killed them all. Okay, send him back. We're going to overturn the verdict. So he's back in the truck. So that was the first twist, is that they're all in his head. And then he's in the truck. And then we see am I missing a twist? Oh, the Ray Liotta being one of the convicts is kind of a twist too. Then he's in the back of the truck, and we see Amanda Peet home in his head, and she's planting something nice, and she's digging in the dirt, and he's singing the song. I think they're listening to God, is it a Bob Dylan song? I don't know. He's singing the song in the back of the car that she's listening to as she plants her thing, or something like that. And as she digs, she gets the key, number 1. What? How is this possible? Well, earlier on, a woman and the little kid ran around the corner to get into a car, and the car blew up, and everyone assumed they were dead. Somehow the little kid made it. And guess what? The little kid is the killer. And he kills the chick, and he's the one left. And then in real life, the killer kills the doctor and the driver, and now he's left with the killer in his brain. So there you go. Crazy movie, though.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time. Isn't like the majority of that film, it's like pouring rain outside.
Oh, it's dark and it's rainy the whole time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. But I remember when I was like, what? They're the people in his brain? That's such an awesome idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to watch that again. It's been a while for that one. That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. My next one is a classic film. The whole, not just the very, very ending, but the last like 20, 25 minutes of the film is just so intense. Talking about Carrie, Brian De Palma, Stephen King, right?
You could say the last 2 seconds of that movie.
Yeah, I mean, the whole second half of the film is just one kind of wow moment after another, from the scene at the prom where they dupe Carrie into thinking she's the new prom queen, and she goes up on stage and they spill the bucket of goat's blood all over.
I don't have any.
No, not today, right? Yeah. For folks who haven't seen it, we did a whole Brian De Palma kind of ranking the films of a while ago, and Jamie had a great prop for that, so you got to go check that out in the playlist. That was a lot of fun. So then, of course, she uses her weird powers to wreak havoc amongst everybody who's at the prom, and all the killing ensues, and then she winds up leaving to go back to her house to deal with her mother. Her mother is a crazy overprotective religious psycho, right? So she goes back there. Mother tries to kill Carrie, and and then Carrie winds up killing the mother, and then Carrie's dying, whatever, and she decides to burn the whole house down, which she does, and kill them both. And the final scene with the hand coming out of the grave, it's just, man, it's like a sequence of events. The whole last half hour of this film is just like one wow shocker after another, and it's a great creepy film, and with just a totally mind-blowing ending. And again, the ending is a whole bunch of things happening, not just one. So and I love when films kind of build up that way and just hit you with one wow moment after another, and that's kind of what you get with Carrie. And a great performance by Sissy Spacek in this, and Piper Laurie too as her mother. So that's my choice.
I was telling an older gentleman I work with on Wednesday in the office that I'm doing this, and he doesn't watch a lot of movies. But he did say, "You're going to do Carrie?" I said, "Not me, but someone will." So number 3, I don't own this one, and it's not streaming. So I almost didn't choose it because it's been so long since I've seen it. I'm like, how am I going to watch this? eBay is going to take at least a week to get here. There's a shitty version of it on YouTube, but it's there, and I watched it. And I don't own it, so I'm just holding this up. This was a reminder. Don't go to number 2. There is a 3. I'm going with The Others from 2001 with Nicole Kidman. Still a pretty damn hot Nicole Kidman in this movie. Not that she's ugly now, but that's prime Nicole Kidman.
Before all the plastic surgery. Yeah.
Yes. So if you haven't seen it, this was a pretty big hit too. So a lot of people probably seen this movie. It won a lot of awards overseas too, like their versions of the Oscars. And everyone does a bang up job. And Nicole Kidman lives in the house, and I think it's like what, early 50s. And they have no electricity, and they need servants. And 3 servants show up at her door. One can't talk. One's an old guy. One's an old woman. And she finds out that she never mailed the thing saying she needs servants. So How did you show up? Well, we used to work here and we love this house, and so on and so on. And then Nicole Kidman starts seeing ghosts in the house, and weird things start happening. And her kids are allergic to light for some reason. Both of them have it, and they can't be exposed to light. So she tells the servants, keep the curtains up and don't open that door until you shut one door, because we got to keep the light all in one room. We can't have the light moving through room to room to room. She has all these crazy rules. She's extra religious. And the one creepy scene is when she has her daughter in her first Holy Communion dress, which is kind of looks like a bride's dress with the veil. And she comes in and you see through the veil, she looks like an old woman. She's got old woman hands, and she starts strangling her daughter. Where's my daughter? And she's like, I am your daughter. So all kind of pizzazz is going on and scary things. And it's very eerie. And it kind of reminds me of The Innocents, which could have made this list. That could have made this list.
I was just looking that up. Yeah, that's a loose remake of The Innocents, actually, which
right.
is terrific.
With a big twist.
Yeah.
Big twist. So we find out, well, there's a scene where Nicole Kidman finds out all the drapes are gone. And she starts yelling, what'd you do with the drapes? And the servants are like, nonchalantly, shit happens. And you're like, what's going on? You find out that Nicole Kidman and her kids and the servants are all dead, and they're the ghosts. Yeah. And the people they thought were ghosts are the real people, and they're a seance, and they're trying to contact them. And the reason why the little girl looked like an old woman is because the old woman was kind of like getting through her body to talk to her. And what kind of the old woman was possessed by the little girl. So the little girl as a ghost looked like the old woman. And when you find out that they're actually the ghosts, that's one of those, why didn't I think of that? It seems like an idea that's been out there forever. And finally, someone just grabbed it out of the air and did it. So yes, the others.
Yeah, it's a clever picture. And The Innocents is also really, really clever too, and very, very cool.
And disturbing when you think of it. There's a lot of disturbing things in there.
Yeah. And both films really well acted, really well put together, a lot of atmosphere, which is good. Then they have this like sophistication about them, which is good.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, my next one is something I got really recently and only watched just really recently. And this is, I don't know if I'd call this necessarily a horror film. I guess it kind of is. It's more like a exploitation film, I guess. It's definitely a horrific thriller sort of thing. Death Game.
The first one I never saw.
There you go. Yeah, and I feel bad like spoiling it for you because
that's all right.
The last scene is great. So basically, this whole movie is.
I gotta use the bathroom anyways. Go.
There you go. This movie is about these two very attractive blonde young women who obviously are up to no good, and they stumble upon the house of this pretty rich guy who's home for the weekend. His wife had to go away on a business trip, so he's got the house all to himself. And there's like a storm outside, and they ring the doorbell. They just happen to pick his house, and they're like, "Oh, can we use your phone? Haven't we heard this before?" So he lets them in, and then they're like, "Oh, we called some friends. We're trying to go to a party, but we lost our way. Car broke down. Blah blah blah." Right? So he lets them in, and then they're giving them drinks and what have you. Before you know it, the three of them are having a party, and they totally seduce him. He winds up having sex with the both of them. This big whole orgy thing goes on. And in the morning, he gets up and he's got a hangover, and he's kind of like, "Oh my God, what did I do? The wife is away. I got to get these two girls out of my house." And the girls are kind of like in no rush to leave, and they just think the party's going to continue. We're going to eat your food, drink your booze, we'll have more sex, whatever. And then so this whole weekend, he tries to get rid of them. Nothing he does works, and he does get rid of them at one point. They wind up coming back, so they wind up kind of like torturing him and tying him up and doing all sorts of crazy stuff to him. End of the film, right after this whole weekend of insanity and everything like that, they wind up leaving right after everything that happens at the house, and thinking they're going to get away with everything they've done, right? And literally the last scene is the best scene, where they're leaving, walking through the neighborhood, and they're like not paying attention. They're all happy that we had a great time, whatever, we did what we did, and they're feeling great about it. They shouldn't be, but they are. And they kind of go turn a corner, and this guy who's driving like a delivery truck, who's like not really paying attention to the road, comes flying around the corner As they walk out, splat, run them both over. And that's the end of the film. So in the end, they got their just due after all this shit that they did throughout the whole movie. It's just such a crazy, wacko ending. And it happens just like that. Game over. So there you go.
All right, cool. Didn't hear a third. Didn't hear a word. Just a mumbling.
All right, there you go.
Cool.
Cool. Back to you.
Next one is one of my favorite movies of all time. And you know what? I really didn't realize that until I watched it again last night. And I've seen it a bazillion times. And if you've seen it a bazillion times and you love it every time, I guess it's one of your favorite movies of all time, right? That's the definition. I am going with 1987's Angel Heart.
Yeah.
And, you know, I saw this in the theater alone by myself. Nobody would go with me. And what got me, I'll never forget, sitting in the parking lot of my high school when I drove to school in the morning, I heard the radio spot and it said, "Not since The Exorcist." I'm sold. That's all you got to say. I'm there. And they were like, "The ending will," like, I'm going. And it opened the same weekend as Lethal Weapon and Nightmare on Elm Street 3. So it bombed. It didn't, I looked at the numbers. I think it 18 million to make it. It made 17 point something. So it didn't even make its money back, which is a real shame because it was a great, I still remember seeing it in the theater and it was a great experience on the big screen. So if you have not seen this movie, you might, you know, I would highly recommend seeing this movie. And you don't want to be spoiled on this one. Don't let me spoil this for you because I will feel awful. So mute me, fast forward through me. What if you're watching live, go get a snack, hold your ears or whatever. So Robert De Niro is Louis Cypher in this movie. And he gets Harry Angel is a kind of like a detective guy, private PI, you know, finds people, does little small time things. He wants them to find Johnny Favorite because Johnny Favorite owes him some shit on a contract that he scooted out of town, not paying his due. So the whole movie, you got Harry Angel trying to find Johnny Favorite. And you find out Johnny Favorite was a blues guitarist. And he's going through all the motions of his future or his ex-fiancée to trying to find this chick that he had an affair with. And this is the famous movie that kind of got Lisa Bonet thrown off the Cosby Show. And if you think about it, how Cosby's career and life turned out, it's a lot of bullshit there. But I think he wanted to keep the prestige of his show, you know, the theme of his show, not maybe him in his personal life, but whatever. Because she does have a big sex scene in this movie. Oh, what? Now you're going to go see it. That ain't the spoiler, though. So what I love about this movie is the ending. I still have questions. And every time I watch it, I try to fill in the pieces that seem to be missing. Am I not catching it, or are they just doing poor writing? I think I'm not catching it because I read the comment section on YouTube today where the video was talking about this movie, and a lot of people have different views on this movie. They interpret it very differently. And it's a puzzle, and I'm always trying to figure out the puzzle. Maybe that's why I watch it over and over. But it also has a rhythm. Watching this movie is like listening to your favorite album. It has a rhythm, it has a flow, and it makes you feel a certain way. You don't have to go into it going, "Oh, I know the next part." You just go with the flow of it. And Mickey Rourke is so freaking good. I read somewhere someone said if he would have died after this movie, someone would have been calling him, he would have been the next Marlon Brando. He's so good in this movie.
Back when you still kind of look like a normal human being.
Right. Yes. So as he's interviewing Mickey Rourke, interviewing everyone, Harry Angel, they die soon afterwards. And he's telling Louis Cypher, who's Robert De Niro, who is so good as the devil. He's the devil. A lot of good actors have played the devil. Jack Nicholson, Al Pacino, Bill Cosby has played the devil, and the devil and Max Devlin or some shit like that. But he is the best Satan in this movie. And there is a the ending, there's a clue to it. In the beginning, somewhere around the beginning, every time I crack an egg, a hard-boiled egg, I think of this movie because Robert De Niro is rolling this egg with his long fingernails.
Very casual.
And he's peeling it with his fingernail. And you just can't take your eyes off it for some reason. And he goes, did anyone tell you that a lot of people think the egg is a symbol for the soul? And, Harry Angel's like, no, I didn't know that. He acts like a guy from Brooklyn, like this guy you could have a beer with and have some laughs with, and pick up some chicks with. He didn't know that. He goes, and then he takes the egg and does the weirdest, most intense bite into the egg while staring at Harry Angel. That says a lot in this movie. I never caught that before until I watched it last night. I always caught the scene, but I didn't take the symbolism before. So I'm still figuring out this goddamn movie. It's been how many years? And there's a lot of fans when people die. Every time someone dies, there's a fan spinning in the background. So Harry Angel's like telling Lucifer, that this guy you got me looking for, Johnny Favorite, he's killing off everyone and he's pinning it on me and I don't like it. So you find out at the end when he gets to Johnny Favorite's ex-fiance's dad, I believe it is, and his dad spills the beans that Johnny Favorite was into some voodoo shit, and him and his fiance and the chick he was banging on the side was in like the poor side of town where Lisa Bonet lives, like the black side of town in 1950, whatever. And he bangs Lisa Bonet and there's the blood coming out of the ceiling and it's very intense. And Lisa Bonet, I read an interview about this, that she loved the whole thing. She said it was a lot of sex for an hour with Alan Parker just yelling at us. It was wonderful. So he finds out that they are all into some voodoo shit. And Johnny Favorite wanted to get out. He made a deal with the devil to become famous. And he sold his soul, kind of like the Crossroads story, sold his soul to become famous. But what he did is he found a random guy his age on New Year's Eve in New York and took him back to their place and he cut out his heart and ate it. Why? To steal his soul and his identity. Now, this is where things get muddy. Shortly afterwards, Harry Angel, Johnny Favorite, gave away the ending, Pete, already. Johnny Favorite goes to war. He gets drafted as a musician, whatever the hell that means. He's there playing for the guys. Oh, you feel down? Let me do this little tune for you. And he comes back with amnesia and his face is all messed up. So they got to redo his face. They do a damn good job in 19 whatever back then to make it look like a very handsome Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
I wish someone could make my face like that right now. So he comes back with amnesia. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't look like what he used to. And what they did is they stole him out of the hospital, falsified the records, put him back into Times Square on New Year's Eve again, because that's the last thing he kind of remembers, and gave him the dog tags of the guy's heart that he ate, which is Harry Angel. It's Harry Angel is Johnny Favorite the whole fucking time. All right, that's the big twist. And he's like, I know who I am. And then Robert De Niro comes in, and now he doesn't have the man bun. He's not, he's got it down now. And he's pointing at him with the evil eyes. No, you've been on borrowed time, buddy. You're mine. And Lisa Bonet was his daughter, and he banged the hell out of her and killed her. How did he kill her? He put a gun up her tooch and pulled the trigger. So there's a lot of grime in this movie. The ending, like I said, if he stole the guy's identity, how did he get the Brooklyn accent all of a sudden? How there's questions. Did he take the guy's whole? Did he consume his body and kind of get his body, or did he get his personality? Did his voice change? How come his voice is different? I got questions. I'm still trying to figure them out.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense movie. Another one I haven't seen in quite a while. But yeah, my wife always has issues with that movie. She's like, oh, all this voodoo stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I was explaining the whole movie. Like, did that take 2 hours? Because I feel like I was talking for 2 hours when I did that.
All right, number 2, right?
Yeah.
My number 2, I'm going to go back to Dario Argento one more time.
We both have the same number 1.
Oh yeah, exactly. So, Tenebrae, another Giallo classic. Again, a lot of these type of films have very similar plots. They introduce like these main characters. All of a sudden, there's all these killers. The killer is like a mask, a hat, maybe. The black gloves, right? Just and all the kills are always very elaborate, and usually someone maybe sees one of them happening, and usually have some main character who is got to get to the bottom of all this, right? And this particular one, it happens to be character's name is Peter Neal, who is a very famous horror book author, right? So he is throughout this whole film, he's like the kind of the hero, the guy who's going to get to the bottom of it. He can identify with the killer because he writes about killers and all that sort of stuff. So he always thinks he's one step ahead of the killer. And, throughout the film, as they always do with these movies, they throw these red herrings everywhere. And they leave these little, what they call them, the breadcrumbs, right? That think who the killer is going to be. Is it this person? They lead you to believe, oh, it might be that person. Oh, but it might be that person. So the ending of the film is like, I remember the first time I saw this, I'm like, what? They're definitely not going to go there. And again, spoiler alert, the killer actually winds up being Peter Neal, the author, of course, because and when you get to that point, you're like, but of course, who else could it have been, right? So the whole climax of the scene where, he thinks he's been discovered, I'm not gonna be arrested, whatever. And he goes and he slits his own throat and he kills himself. So they're like, oh, okay, well, all right. So the one woman who surviving person, she's like, all right, I guess that's all over with. Who would have thought, right? So they leave the scene, which is really weird. And then they come back and they find out he's gone. It's like, so what happened? Turns out he faked killing himself. He had all this plan because, of course, he's this great author. So he rigged up, like the knife and the fake blood and all this stuff. So he's like, basically, I'm back from the dead. I never was dead, right? I'm smarter than all of you. Then in the last scene with all the shit that's going on, he winds up knocking over this kind of pointy statue thing, impales him and kills him. And that's the end of the film. But again, it's just one of those whodunit films where they lead you to believe the one guy, they get you to care for this one guy. He's the hero, he's the main guy. And in the end, he's not the good guy at all. He's the bad guy. And then the whole faking his death at the end was just brilliant because you really think the film is over, and then it keeps going on, and he's actually still around. So, classic Argento.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen that one?
No. That's all right.
Damn.
One spoiled out of 10 is not bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I spoiled that
have
one.
a lot more spoiled.
That is a great film to watch for the first time, and just to be totally surprised by that. I'm sorry.
You know what? I'll stumble across that in 3 years and I'll forget this whole conversation.
There you go. Yeah.
And I saw this in the theater, last night in Soho, and it has a twist ending too.
How is that? I haven't seen that yet.
It's so beautifully done the whole time. I'm thinking this is like 4K material here, 4K worthy. The twist ending almost kind of cheapens it because it's like this beautiful kind of artsy time loopy movie. And then it turns into your just basic slasher film, and it cheapens it just a bit, but it's kind of a twist at the same time.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the theaters, and I know a few people that really liked it a lot. And Chris Allo was like, yeah, it's okay, but I don't know if I'd buy it.
Yeah.
If Chris says he's not, if he didn't like it enough to buy it, I'm like, but I do want to see it first. But I heard the 4K of it looks amazing.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy is like my new chick.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She grew on me. I just like the roles that she chooses, the movies that she chooses. She's just got this whole thing about her that's great.
Yeah.
All right, we both got the same number 1.
Yep.
I took notes today on it, though. I did a play-by-play and took notes. And I had a fog machine, I don't know where it is. I was going to hit the button and fog was going to come in my face. It's going to be a whole thing. I don't know where I looked for like an hour. I don't know where it went. So yes, The Mist has to be number one. It's maybe my favorite ending of any movie ever. I got this crappy old DVD, but it's a Blockbuster exclusive.
There you go.
Yeah,
this Blu-ray is pretty. This Blu-ray is pretty hard to get.
Yeah. So whatever. I'm sure it'll be reissued or whatever.
Yeah.
So The Mist. It's quite genius. The writing is great. Is this the same guy that directed Shawshank? It might be. I think so. Yes. So you're in good hands in this movie.
Oh, Frank Darabont. Sorry, Frank.
And he wrote the screenplay too, I believe. So yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. People are stuck in a grocery store and there's mist all around them, and there's big alien bugs out there killing anyone who steps foot outside. But what's great about this movie is the politics inside the store and everybody arguing. This movie came out in 2007. They're really foreseeing the future of how this whole country acts now like everyone did in that little grocery store. But there is a crazy religious woman in this movie. And I don't think I hate anyone in any movie more than I hate her. And I rewatched it today. Spoiler. When she gets shot in the gut, I yelled out right in this room, seen this movie a lot. Take that, you fucking bitch. You know what? Anytime I'm in a bad mood, all I got to do is put on that 30 seconds. And I think I'd put me right into a better mood, man. Yeah, and then they shoot her in the fucking head. Yeah. Oh, thank God. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, you know, you got the religious aspect, you got the people who want to be, you know, take it this direction, that direction, two sides, and everyone's arguing on how to handle the situation. People are killing each other at the end, and all they wanted to do was go in with grocery shopping, basically. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that escaped out of the store. The other people don't even want to escape. They stay in the store, and there's a lot of them. So no, there's a lot more that escape, but like maybe there's 8 and 3 of them get eaten on the way. 5 of them make it to the truck, and there's an old lady in the back, an old gentleman, and a hot chick, the dude and his son, and they're driving through the mist. And it's I wrote down the play-by-play because I didn't want to miss anything, because this is too beautifully done. So let me kind of read my notes here. They escape the store. The dad, the chick, the son, the 2 older people. They drive, and they're driving slow, and they don't have a lot of gas. They're kind of driving slow through the mist, and the mist won't stop. They see the turnover cars. They see a bus with like some kid in one of the seats all kind of like cocooned up or decomposing or some kind of shit. You got the haunting music and like these vocals that are kind of like yodeling. Sad yodeling, not happy yodeling. Then they kind of stop in the road because their whole road is doing the Jurassic Park water thing, you know, when the water ripples. The whole thing is bumped. And this humongous bug, 10 billion times bigger than any bug they've seen so far, as big as Godzilla, walks by, and they're like, things aren't getting better, they're getting worse. And then they roll on and they run out of gas right in the middle of the mist. There is no sunshine behind them, in front of them, nowhere. And they all get the same thought. Dude's got the gun. Problem is, he's got 4 bullets, and they're all looking at each other, and the kid's asleep. And the old guy in the back gives him the nod, and the chick is like, "There's 4 bullets and 5 of us." And the dad is like, "I'll figure something out for me." And then the camera pans back. We don't really. We're a little bit in the mist, and you see the light from the gun light up in the car 4 times. Bang. Bang, bang, bang. And then you hear the dad just scream. Oh, he's screaming in there. And he takes the empty gun. Now we see him in the car, and he just tries shooting him. He knows it's empty, but it doesn't matter. He just, come on, give me a miracle. And then he gets out of the truck, and he starts screaming out into the mist, "Come on, you son of bitches, come on, take me, take me." And you hear the rumble. Here it comes. They're gonna take him. What the rumble is, spoiler, is a tank. The military is coming through. And you start to see the mist rise up a little bit, and it's going away. And it's pretty much all away. And you see the military guys with their gas masks, and they got the flamethrowers, and they're setting this big cocoon in the tree on fire, you know, that was going to turn into a future bug. And you see off into the distance that they got the situation under control. And this is 3 minutes after he killed his son and everybody else. And he goes on his knees and he starts screaming. And one of the military guys looks at him. He's got a mask on, but you can kind of tell he's thinking, what the fuck, dude? This is good news.
Yeah.
And if he just would have waited 3 minutes, everyone would have been alive, and they probably could have went back to their normal lives in a year or two. But no, he killed everyone.
Yep.
And he has to live with that.
Yeah.
Sorry to steal your thunder on that, Pete.
No, that's quite all right. Yeah, that was my number one as well. That's it's, man, total downer of an ending, man. It's a really great film, based on obviously a Stephen King short story. And yeah, what's really, and again, if you're all familiar with The Walking Dead, I mean, there were a whole bunch of Walking Dead cast members, or would soon, would join The Walking Dead years later, that are in this film, because Frank Darabont was also involved in the first season of The Walking Dead. And yeah, like all of a sudden you see like all the military and all these like, big trucks with people they're rescuing. You see people on the trucks that were actually also in the store that walked out. So yeah, it's just, and then you could feel Thomas Jane is the actor who played the father there, who, killed his son and the 3 other people. And you can just feel the pain all over him. And then he looks up and he sees that everything's going to be okay. And he's like, but I just, he's never going to be able to live with himself.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, just crushing.
And nobody tells you everything is going to be okay. No, right. You just kind of, that's why the first time I saw it, I'm like, they're not doing this. No way are they doing that. I think they just did that.
Yep. And the movie's
holy shit.
Yep. And then the film is done. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, crazy. There's probably a lot more, but I think we covered some really good ones here today. And again, if folks are watching and now you maybe don't want to see any of these films, sorry, but we warned you, right?
Yes.
But if you have seen these films, hopefully this kind of brings you down memory lane and makes you want to revisit some of these.
And they're still worth watching, even if you know the ending.
Oh yeah, because these are all good films. It's not just the ending was good. Yeah. It's like these are all really good films. So yeah, cool. Yeah. So there you have it, everybody. If there are any real kind of powerful, memorable, twisty endings that you really dig from horror sci-fi movies, please list them in the comments below and let us know what you think of some of these little gems here. And thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together all the damn time. For Jamie, Laszlo, I'm Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching The Monsters Den. We'll see you next Thursday, of course, tomorrow morning. We'll be back here at the Funhouse with Martin Popoff. Saturday, we've got the UK Connection, and Sunday, album homework assignment. Till then, take care. For Jamie, I am Pete. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.